to you about how trauma, how unresolved trauma can lead to more trauma, can lead to you traumatizing yourself even further, resulting in some really unhealthy coping skills. So we can experience trauma, and everybody does. Everybody experiences trauma to more or lesser degrees. And it doesn't matter what degree of trauma you've experienced, it's what is the impact that it's had on you. The impact that it has on me might not be the same as somebody else. And the reason why the impact is different is because we're all different beings. Some of us are more sensitive to things than others. Some of us have people who come to us to offer us support and love and guidance during those traumatic episodes, whereas others do not have any support or any compassionate people or any opportunity to process the trauma when it's happened. So those are some factors that can lead to unresolved trauma, leading to poor coping skills, leading to more trauma. We can experience trauma emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, even sexually. So when you look at the financial trauma, people have experienced serious debt. That is traumatizing. That puts a huge strain on your being, on your person. If you've experienced homelessness, if you've experienced bankruptcy, that is serious trauma. Think of stress as trauma. But look at, just like sometimes stress can get us motivated to doing things, trauma, we can also experience growth from trauma. Okay, so not just post-traumatic stress disorder, but we can have post-traumatic growth. However, most of us don't go for the growth. Most of us go to traumatizing ourselves even further. This spiritual, religious trauma that we can experience is such as, if I am somebody who is gay and I was raised in a church that says that gay people are going to hell, that is seriously traumatizing to my own well-being, to my belief system that has been traumatized by what I am trying to be in the world versus what the world thinks about me can be a traumatizing experience. And let's not minimize the nature of our trauma and saying, well, I didn't have it as bad as other people, or, I was never physically abused, so it wasn't that bad. Do not minimize your trauma. Take it for what it is and understand what has the impact been on you individually, because we are all individuals and we all experience trauma in different ways. You can't compare your trauma to anyone else and say they had it worse or I had it better. It is what it is, but it's how you choose to cope with it. And so some of these coping skills are just not healthy. Some people are avoiding their feelings of the trauma and they're staying busy. Staying busy is a trauma response. Being a workaholic is a trauma response. Something else I put up here, being a rageaholic is a trauma response. When you are operating from the emotion of anger all the time, anger is a secondary emotion. What's really underneath the anger is betrayal, is hurt, is humiliation, is fear, is loneliness, okay? Those are the feelings that we're trying to avoid, and it comes through as just being angry all the time. Numbing the feelings. So not only do I try to avoid the feelings, but I'm also going to numb those feelings too with alcohol, with drugs, with food, with sex, whatever it is to fill that void of loneliness. And I'm going to get burnt out. And I'm going to have anxiety because I'm totally out of alignment with myself. I'm disconnected from myself. I'm completely unaware. I'm lacking self-awareness as a result of these poor coping skills. And what happens is I then go and neglect all of these areas myself. And I re-traumatize myself by avoiding my emotional needs, by avoiding my physical needs, by avoiding my mental and spiritual needs, by avoiding my sexual needs and my financial needs. So we have been traumatized in these ways that may or may not have been in our control, but now we are in control of how we choose to respond to it. And the way that we're choosing to respond to it is by re-traumatizing ourselves in these areas instead of reaching out for help and support and compassion from people, we stuff it down. Or we try to help ourselves, but it doesn't work and we give up. We must not give up. We must understand that there is growth to experience from these traumatic events in our lives. Everybody has experienced trauma. Just being born is trauma. You hear a baby coming out of the womb and it's wailing. It's like, what the heck just happened to me here? This is what I'm talking about. But the baby who's born and is wailing, if it had a loving adult to securely make it feel better and safe, then that traumatic experience of being born isn't so traumatic. And this is what I'm saying, when you've experienced a traumatic event and if there was no loving adult there for you, then you're left to fend for yourself. This is why inner bonding work is very effective, very impactful to overcome trauma, by looking to your little self, your little child, and showing up for your little child like a loving adult. The loving adult you've never had. In the meantime, you're abandoning yourself. You're abandoning your little child. You're saying, shut up, be quiet, whatever, we didn't have it that bad. I don't know what you're complaining about. No, we don't need to do any of those things. We're just going to carry on. We're just going to ignore this stuff and hope that it gets better. I'm going to ignore what happened to me and hope that it'll just go away. Maybe it'll just go away. Maybe the problem will fix itself out on its own. Have you ever hoped that? Maybe the problem will just fix itself on its own, but it doesn't. And in the meantime, we go for these temporary fixes, these quick fixes. Oh, I can have a drink, I can smoke a joint, I can do some drugs, I can feel better, I can stuff my face with some food, I can get on a sugar high, I can, go and spend a lot of money and shop, and I can feel better for the moment, but actually I'm just making it worse. By drinking and using substances, I'm actually creating a dependency on something outside of myself. I'm looking to things outside of myself to feel better. This is the issue, is you're looking for things outside of yourself to feel better, while really you are so disconnected that you're missing the point of being able to connect with yourself. And the way to connect with yourself is to connect with your inner child. I connect with my little Freya. I show up as a loving adult to my little Freya and I ask her, am I showing up for you? Am I giving you all these emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, financial, and sexual needs that you need? Okay, the sexual thing on the inner child, I know that sounds a little weird, but this is what I'm saying, okay? Now, we have the 4 F's, and most of you are familiar with the flight or the fight responses of trauma. The fight and the flight. But what about the fawn and the freeze? And the fawning is that people-pleasing. That is the fawning, is people-pleasing. And people-pleasing is not only a trauma response, but it's also a form of control. Because you feel like you've lost control, so hopefully I can have control over other people by making them happy, by doing everything that they want me to, and hopefully if they're okay, then I'll be okay. If they're happy with me, then I can be happy with myself. So we also have the freeze response, which is very much dissociating and withdrawing and isolating from everything and not taking any action whatsoever. And this can really lead to this loneliness and this anxiety and the burnout from people pleasing. Holy smokes. The best way to overcome toxic shame, which is essentially what's happening here. I'm just trying to avoid the shame, trying to avoid the guilt, trying to avoid the vulnerable emotions, is to practice self-compassion. Looking to the things that you have accomplished in life, that you've been successful in. What have you done well? What are the relationships that you've nurtured? What are the goals that you've completed? Looking to those things to build up your self-compassion and your self-worth so that you can give yourself the emotional needs that you need. Give yourself the physical needs that you need to move your body, to be active, to be healthy. Give yourself the mental space to practice mindfulness, to practice meditation, to get into doing some good mindset work that is so helpful to control the way you feel. If I am in control of the way I think, then I can quickly shift into a better feeling. I choose the thoughts that make me feel good because I know I'm in control of that. Why do I choose thoughts that don't make me feel good? Am I addicted to pain? Am I addicted to not feeling good? Am I addicted to feeling sorry for myself? Am I addicted to this people-pleasing behavior? Am I addicted to these substances? Am I addicted to work and staying busy? The opposite of addiction is connection. You need to connect with yourself instead of trying to connect with all these things outside of yourself to make you feel better. It starts here. So increasing self-compassion, practicing mindfulness, having a practice of gratitude. The attitude of gratitude will immediately lift your vibration to a higher level so that you can start to show up for yourself. Show up for yourself in these areas where they were perhaps not given to you at a certain point in your life. Now you need to show up and start to learn how to do this for yourself. You can't count on other people to do this for you. If you are expecting things from other people, if you are waiting around for somebody else to do something, you're going to be disappointed. You can't expect anyone to do anything for you. You have to show up for yourself and do it for yourself and do the work for yourself. If you expect somebody else to do it for you, disappointment. How often are you feeling disappointed? Probably were very disappointed that these things happened to you. You maybe didn't have control of that. Now you're disappointed that you're lacking in these areas. It's up to you. You have the power to do this.